Hey everyone, Ment here. I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about some Don Rich guitar. I just released my latest course on the guitar style of Don Rich. If you've been following me, I've usually released courses called like the lead guitar style or the rhythm guitar style. But this one's a little unique in that I kind of cover both lead and rhythm, meaning with his rhythm guitar, a lot of his accompaniment is straight from kind of his lead guitar vocabulary. Don would, strum chords, but he would play a lot of low, open string, twangy stuff. And all of that could carry right over into his lead guitar playing. So that's kind of why I called it the guitar style of Don Rich, to kind of cover both lead and rhythm and how they're not really different. It's more of what he doesn't play. So that's kind of the basis for the course. So if you're interested in learning how to play like Don Rich, the course is the full, I won't say definitively everything, but it's a huge explanation on how to get into the style, get in the mind, the headspace of Don Rich, and to start kind of playing that way. So a huge thing with Don Rich's kind of way of playing, it's all pentatonics. 95% of it, which is great because as guitarists, we love the pentatonics and we know it probably better than anything else because we've been doing it since day one of playing guitar. So I thought I'd take a few minutes, and I'll be back Thursday doing the same kind of thing, with a little different topic, but take a few minutes of just showing how you can take some of these ideas in one little position across a few different strings and apply them to a rhythm guitar idea. So if we were to take a standards Buck Owens song, most of them just go 1, 4, 5, 1. Some have a quick 5 at the end. So if we were in the key of G and we're playing a 1, and I'm just gonna kind of do kind of the Buck beat. We'll go to the 4 chord, it's our C, back to the 5, and to the 1. And we'll do a quick 5, because why not, right? So that's going to be our basis for what we're doing. So what I would say here is, if we were trying to play like a rhythm thing underneath it, when Don Rich plays, and again, these are not like, this is the only thing, but when Don Rich plays, a lot of the time he's not filling in the gaps between the vocals. He's just kind of playing just slightly underneath the vocals and just kind of riffing. So if we're playing just pentatonics, right, there's a G power chord. And we've got all of that under our fingers to use. So what he would do is just play around with the first, which is the G, the 7th, which is the F, and the 5th, which is the D. So he might go just back and forth between the G going. That's a pretty standard kind of thing, just going quarter eighths, going back and forth like that. Might go, and just playing around with that kind of idea. So if we were playing and we wanted to mess around with just that over the entire progression, we could apply that to all the chords. So if we went to the C, back to the D, back, and already you're, just by doing that, 2 notes for each chord, just really simple, 1 is flat 7, you're kind of already getting into the headspace and the sound. The next thing you could start doing is adding the root, an octave lower. Right, and just moving around. And that's just putting the root in between it. Now it kind of gets weird when you play the D because you don't have like a lower D unless you drop tune, but that's a whole other thing. So one more time you could go. And so on. You can make little variations and go with that. So that's kind of an idea. Now the next thing you could add into that is start messing around with the fourth of all these chords. So you could go. Now we're really getting to the Don territory, and this is where I like to hang out. So now we're just playing, right? So we're just playing C, D, up to the F. So we've got and then it kind of gets weird when you come to the D, so we're gonna move it up an octave. We could go low like that if you want to. So either way, so if we were playing that in context, and that works beautifully. So already we can see how just literally taking the 1 and the flat 7 and expanding on that, adding the 5, adding the 4, and kind of creating these little riffs is building up our rhythm playing. So again, if we're playing G, C, D, back to G. And just by those few simple things, I did one other thing I'll show you in a second, but just by adding those little things, I can create all those variations, and I can create seemingly endless rhythmic fun and accompaniment underneath the vocalist. And what I'll talk about more Thursday is just taking all of that and just digging into your lead playing. So that's kind of what's going on there. Now, the one thing, if you caught, that I started adding was I started jumping up to the minor third. So if this is G, up to the B flat, thanks, appreciate it. If we jump G up to the B flat, that is adding the minor third. And that's something you hear all the time going, right? That's something it's just part of the playing, and all sorts of guys do it. So we can now add that into our playing. It is a little weird, I will say, if you put it on the 4 and if you put it on the 5. It's more of like a just blanket thing across G using that B flat. So best probably to do it by playing. So we'll go. That's how you could add that kind of minor third sound to the 1 on there. So altogether, that kind of, embellishes just that G progression of just going G, up to the C, then to the D, and back to the G. All of that. Now, got more. Two other things. One I haven't introduced yet, but before there, another thing is just connecting the chords. This is something that I think is so underrated in country guitar playing and rhythm playing. And that if you listen to all the old guys, they all did it. I don't know why we do it, or we don't do it. Mini rant, sorry. But it's just connecting the chords. So if I'm playing, going, and landing on the C that way, I am clearly leading us to C. And it's not ambiguous of me just kind of going. there's voice leading, even though it's like in the bass and stuff, and it's not always like your traditional voice leading. There's chromaticism and there's movement to the chord. So if you're playing, you can have stronger resolutions that way. So if you're playing, right? That's me leading to the 5 chord, going C, C, C sharp, D, and then back to the G. And that, I think, is a huge part of his playing. He does it all the time in his lead stuff. But if you can start connecting the chords that way, that's going to kind of get you more into filling the gaps between the chords, which I think is, at least to my ear, I'm always most interested in what's going on between chords. So again, contextually, you might go, stuff like that. So there's some ways of just using all the bass and kind of bass movements, as well as like the flat sevens and the minor thirds and more of the pentatonic sounds to get there. The next thing you can do is start adding double stops into the picture. And this is where you get like the traditional kind of buckaroo sound. So you might do something like this. You can go. That's where that's adding in. And that's really nice because it's, I'm assuming Don Rich stole that from steel guitar players because it's more like padding. So the way of that, to do that, is if you're taking these like power chord / you extend them in their major chords, right? Because power chord, but when you're in that E, it becomes a major chord. What I would say is you want to grab the top part of that triad. So that's a G, a C, and an E, right? And so what I'm doing is taking these 2 fingers and grabbing the 2nd and 3rd string and then bouncing back between the 4th string. And then coming down and playing flat 7 and 9. So that's the B flat and D. So it's... It's just the harmonized version of going, which is kind of cool. So you could do some stuff with that. Spoiler alert, do a lot of that in the course of call and response using those ideas. But the next thing you can do is add the suspended, which is like the buckaroo sound we all like, which is, and that's just adding the 4 to the chord. So that's in the key of C, right? Because it's the C chord, it's just the F. So, and then you just apply that to everything that's on the 5th string, because that's where that sound is. Doesn't really work on the 6th string or 4th string for that matter. Quick question, using this stock? Yeah, the pickups. So the pickups are made by a guy named O.C. Duff. Well, that's his business name. His name's Owen. And I've had 2 pairs. This is a special pair he made me based off of his Buckaroo set, which is kind of like nailing the Roy Nichols, Buck Owens sound. These specifically have a loose bass plate in them, and they are unpotted, meaning they're not dipped in beeswax and the other things they use. So what that kind of hopefully gets when you crank your amp up more is you get more of that sound of those original early 50s Telecasters, because a lot of them did not dip their pickups into the beeswax stuff, and I don't fully understand all of that. They didn't dip it into it, so a lot more harmonics come through, and the loose bass plate allowed for more of a clanky sound. Don't know the science behind it, but that's what that is. So hopefully that's coming through to some degree in this video. It's the Bakersfield thing, and that's kind of where that sound's coming from. So yeah, let's put that all together again. For those just joining, we're just taking a normal Buck Owens kind of styled chord progression, 1, 4 to 5 with a quick 5 at the end. You can ignore it or play it in the key of G, and we're just applying different rhythm ideas that we could play under someone singing, you know, a tune like My Heart Skips a Beat, I Got a Tiger by the Tail, Act Naturally, anything like that. So far we got something like this. And that would be perfectly acceptable to play underneath a singer. And if you listen to Don enough, and especially go check out the videos at the Buck Owens show, the ranch, that is the sound. So one more time, just some ideas that we talked about. We talked about playing around with the flat 7 in the pentatonics and the 1, that sound, right? We talked about playing around with adding the 5th and the 4th, so you get this that thing. If you could do it on the C, on the D, or on the D here, any of those spots work great. We talked about then transferring between chords using chromatics, little passing. So if I'm playing G going it's a little exaggerated. One more time. And you keep hearing me doing that because that's how he would end all of his phrases. Playing that little pentatonic walk down going G, F, D, C, B flat, G. That's just a staple thing, or with the triplet between the D and the C. So those are the ideas. If you're just joining, I'm gonna post this video on my Instagram TV, and I'm also gonna throw it up on my YouTube, so if you're not subscribed there, go check it out. But this, to reiterate a few things I said in the beginning of the video for those just joining, this is what my course is all about, is taking all of these lead guitar ideas and all these rhythm guitar ideas, and they're really just the same thing. It's how he uses them and what he doesn't use, which is really important. He's not, doing string, chicken pickin and like all of that underneath Buck Owens singing. He's doing more of that low stuff. So we talk about using the low stuff where, it comes from theoretical and always practically. And then we start getting more into the chicken picking, kind of, the staple licks and the higher strings that we've heard him play. And so come back Thursday, and we'll talk all about that. But check out the course, it's up on my site, $25 for over an hour worth of content, all doing this, PDFs for all the examples. I think you'll really dig it if you're trying to get into this Bakersfield style of guitar playing. So hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have any questions, you can always shoot me a message. More than happy to help you. Thank you.